Hey, it's Zach from What the Pod Was That and the All About Nothing podcast. And America's birthday is coming up faster than we can track. Celebrate Independence Day in style with ZJZ Designs' latest t-shirt collection on TeePublic. Introducing 3 brand new 4th of July heart designs that perfectly capture the spirit of America. These shirts feature vibrant, patriotic colors and unique heart-shaped designs that stand out at any celebration. Whether you're heading to a fireworks show, a barbecue, or just enjoying the summer sun, our 4th of July heart collection has something for everyone. Show off your love for the red, white, and blue with ZJZ Design. Visit ZJZ Design's TeePublic shop today and get ready to shine this Independence Day. Links in the show notes or visit ZJZDesigns.com and check out all the great designs. New designs come up often. ZJZDesigns.com.
This episode of the All About Nothing podcast is sponsored by Everplay Sports and Social Summer 2026 Adult Sports Leagues. Registering now through May 20th for kickball, softball, volleyball, pickleball, bowling, and more. Visit everplaysocial.com for details and registration. Do it now because these leagues will sell out. It's a great way to get off the couch and hang out with friends while doing enjoyable, fun activities. Again, visit everplaysocial.com and sign up today. Welcome, everyone, to the All About Nothing podcast kind of daily show. I am Barrett Gruber, host of the All About Nothing podcast. You can follow me across all social media at Barrett Gruber. If you want to participate in the show, you can do that by clicking on any one of the links at the top of our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. You can join us in chat on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. Again, you can find links at the top of the webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. Please consider following and subscribing wherever it is that you are hearing us. We're going to get started. So, already Monday, and once again, a virtually crazy, insane weekend when it comes to politics. We're going to talk about some of that here in just a minute. Before that, I want to remind everybody the All About Nothing podcast has a new episode dropped today. My guest this week is Republican candidate for Senate in Idaho, Denny LeVay. Episode number 306 is available now. You can visit theallaboutnothing.com for links if you somehow found your way to me here and didn't know that. Also, a new episode from Preach Jacobs released today. He sat down with Sanford Green, and they discussed hip-hop and graphic arts, as well as the upcoming Colicon. You can check out the show notes for a link, or you can visit bigmediallc.com to check out that latest podcast. Again, just if you want, you can look on any one of the podcast platforms. You can search for the Preach Jacobs podcast wherever you listen. I think I mentioned last week, I don't remember now. It's hard. It's hard for me, my memory sometimes, because I do forget what I talk about on previous episodes, which is not abnormal. That's me. I'm getting older. And I decided I was going to go without earbuds this episode because I'm not talking to anyone else. There's literally no one else on the show with me. But so I'm just kind of talking into the void. Normally I can hear myself in my ear, and I gave up on that for tonight. But anyway, I forget whether or not I discussed it last week, but I think I did. Ted Turner's passing last week. And then Saturday, we learned of the passing of Bobby Cox, manager of the Atlanta Braves from 1978 to 1981. And then again, through some of the Braves' greatest years from 1990 to 2010, which concluded a bunch of National League championships, as well as the 1995 World Series. Bobby Cox was 84 years old when he passed. And I think that leaves a hole. If Bill Kimler, host of Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jamil Brooks, were here, he would probably ask me if I was going to shed a tear for Bobby Cox. And the answer to that is, I already did. I did. Not for any, I met Bobby Cox many times working in radio in Atlanta, and always very friendly, very kind. I don't think he ever remembered my name any single time, specific to when I was introduced to him over and over again. But he was very friendly and always willing to talk to the press. So I think I read today that Bobby Cox still holds the all-time record for the most ejections from baseball. I think it's like 160 something or 180 something, but it's over 150, I think. But Bobby Cox still holds the record for the most ejections in the history of Major League Baseball, maybe modern history, but I assume all of baseball history. So again, Atlanta Braves world was shaken by this. I saw a number of interviews with former players and some players that play for other teams, as well as coaching staff and things like that. And they always say very, very kind things about Bobby Cox and his, just the how he really managed and created a very successful franchise through the 90s. And, so that stands out as a big deal. And I think that the spirit of Bobby Cox at Braves games and things like that has been missed over this last several seasons. But I think that it has, if it had happened more suddenly years ago, I think that it probably would have had a bigger impact on a lot of people. But he's 84, and he lived a long and what seemed to be a very good life. So I don't think that I was at risk of running into him at a game, partially because of the few number of games that I attend, but as well, just the likelihood that he wasn't going to be at a game, not at his advanced age. So, but again, Bobby Cox left a huge impact on the Atlanta Braves. And like I said, I think that he will be missed. So to jump into just some of the things that I took notes and that I was going to discuss today. It is a year ago this week that Donald Trump announced that the Trump phones were going to be available, and they went on sale 1 year ago, like I said, this week. To date, not one single order has been fulfilled. Not a single Trump phone has shipped to anyone. People paid $100 deposits. These were $500 phones. Estimated 590 to 600,000 units were sold. These people placed a $100 deposit to pre-order the gold-colored Trump Mobile T1 phone, totaling nearly $59 million in funds collected. Donald Trump and his company, or whatever, tried to sell phones and made nearly $59 million without shipping a single phone. Not a single one. I am dumbfounded by the fact that they sold nearly 600,000 units, and there has not been more of a stink created about the fact that they haven't shipped a single unit. If Apple were to sell an iPhone to the tune of 600,000 people placing early orders, pre-orders, and Apple didn't ship those phones over the course of a full year, people would lose their mind. Absolutely would lose their mind. And this is just another example of what it is that Donald Trump is. Like, ultimately, it's insane to me that people wouldn't be more upset about this, especially 600,000 potential people that ordered. They put $100 down to get this gold-colored Trump phone and have not seen anything. Now, I don't know if these people have paid the full $4.99 or $5.99 or whatever it is, however much money it is that they sold these for, but even if they haven't paid anything more than just the $100 deposits, it is absolutely insane to me that not a single unit has shipped and that this hasn't created more of a stink. And maybe people were just waiting until it was a year out. Maybe they were just waiting to complain about it after a full year. But I would be pissed. Like, even if I was a Trump supporter, even if I was somebody that was in the MAGA camp or whatever, if I put $100 down so that I could potentially have one of these gold painted phones, I would absolutely be losing my mind over it. But I guess that's not really how being part of the MAGA movement works. Gas prices don't seem to bother most of these people that are in the Trump wing of the Republican Party. A lot of the posts that I keep seeing online are talking about things like, oh, well, gas prices were high under Biden. Yeah, and they were. I mean, I will give it to you that the price of gas did go up in 2022. We did see an increase in it. But a lot of that wasn't related to the president, because the president, and I will even say this in the case of Trump, the president does not control the price of gas. With an asterisk. So there's an asterisk there, because what we have in 2026 is virtually the same scenario that we had in 2022. And that is fuel cost, processed fuel, refined fuel, costs more in other parts of the world. And because of COVID in 2022, there was a supply issue. Supply fell below demand, and our oil and gas industries that had refined fuel saw an opportunity to sell fuel in those countries and make a larger profit, because the fuel was already refined. It had already cost what it was going to cost. So in 2022, fuel companies were authorized by the administration, Biden's administration, to sell their fuel overseas. That lowered the supply available here in the United States. It didn't drop it to the point where we didn't have fuel, but it did lower that fuel supply here in the United States, which means that they could then raise the price. And we saw gas prices in the United States rise to maybe tops $4 a gallon nationally. Some people are going to argue that we had gas prices above $5 and $6, and fine, make that argument. But I didn't see it here. I think we saw maybe $3.23, $3.50 tops in 2022, when everyone was going back to work and going back to their normal activities during COVID or after COVID. What we have this time, though, and the reason I put an asterisk on the explanation for 2026 on how the president does not affect the price of gas, is that this president and his administration and his Department of, I almost said war, his Department of Security. Nope, that's not it. The Pentagon, Department of War, Department of Defense, whatever we're going to call it. We have brought a manufactured crisis to a location that is responsible for about 20% of all of the oil that gets shipped around the world. And 20% doesn't sound like much. Now, what we're talking about is oil. This is unrefined oil. This is oil that's out of the ground and sifted or whatever and put into ships so that it can be shipped to places like China and Russia and North Korea and other parts of the world. It's not just the axis of evil, but it's that is part of where some of that oil gets shipped. So 20% of the world's oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz. And because the Trump administration has manufactured this crisis by starting an attack or war against Iran, that has closed the Strait of Hormuz, which means that 20% of that oil, the world's oil, is not flowing. And just to recognize the impact that has on other parts of the world is massive. That has a huge impact on places in Europe and Asia, because if you were to cut out 20% of your, I don't know, cut out 20% of almost anything, it has an impact, right? So the administration here in the United States saw an opportunity, same as the corporate oil companies and fuel companies here in the United States. They see an opportunity to sell their refined fuel to other places in the world. And it just happens that those other places in the world, fuel costs more than it does here in the United States. So these corporations that sell fuel, normally here in the United States, maybe a little bit around the world, have found an opportunity to make their wallet bigger, or to increase the amount of money they're making because they're selling that fuel around the world. Now, if you were to say that the fuel being sold in 2022 was 10 million barrels of gasoline a day, you can multiply that by 10 and get how much fuel is being exported from the United States to other parts of the world where Shell, and I can't even think of some of the oil companies, Shell and British Petroleum and Texaco and Chevron, these companies selling their oil overseas, and they're making that fuel oil. They're making a lot more money overseas. It hasn't created a shortage here in the United States. We haven't experienced a shortage here in the United States. Not saying that we won't, but because there is less supply and there is continued demand, the oil companies can raise their prices. And there is no consumer protections here in the United States any longer, not for at least the last 10 years, that would protect us as consumers from being price gouged by these oil companies that sell their fuel to us. So again, the idea that the president doesn't have an impact on the price of gasoline here in the country still holds true, but this time there's an asterisk, because there is a manufactured crisis, a manipulated crisis overseas that has created the opportunity for oil companies to sell their fuel in other parts of the world at a higher price. And that's where we're at. Being that it is Monday, the Monday after Mother's Day, I hope that everyone took an opportunity to communicate or to celebrate their mothers in some way. I did talk to mine on the phone for a little bit. One of my daughters was around and was able to tell her Happy Mother's Day. So that was sweet. Donald Trump played Mother's Day a little differently this year. Not to say that he doesn't play most holidays differently than people, but he had what I would describe as one of the more deranged Mother's Day posts of the day. And I'm going to read it verbatim. And I'm not going to do my Trump impression for it, because I don't want to make it sound as though I'm emphasizing something to make it sound worse than it was. Okay. I'm going to read it in my own voice so that the words have the impact, not necessarily the ridiculous impression that I do. So he started out nice. Happy Mother's Day weekend to all, especially to the 115,000 Americans who found jobs in the month of April alone. He wrote, as usual, over 90% of Bloomberg economists, nope, that's not the right word. As usual, over 90% of Bloomberg economists, in parentheses, nearly all of whom have a terminal case of Trump derangement syndrome, all capital letters, by the way, in parentheses, underestimated the strength of the Trump economy. While I still can't provide a clinical diagnosis, as I am not a psychologist and I have no medical background, I can see the psychological drivers behind this very psychotic, again, not mentally speaking, post. So he has this extreme need for constant vindication. His post quickly pivots from a holiday greeting of Happy Mother's Day to a statistical win. This suggests a mental framework where personal value is tied to constant extreme validation and the need to prove critics wrong. The holiday serves as a vehicle to ensure a wider audience sees the boast. Okay. He still has this very us versus them polarization. By using the phrase Trump derangement syndrome, he employs a psychological defense mechanism called labeling. Okay, it dismisses all criticism as a mental case or a pathology, which effectively shuts down logical debate and reinforces the sense of tribal loyalty among followers of MAGA. All of MAGA. He still has this very grandiose opinion of himself, and he personalizes everything. Referring to the national finance landscape as the Trump economy indicates a high personalized worldview. He suggests the poster views complex global systems as direct extensions of his own persona and agency, and rather than recognizing the independent institutions functioned. He uses all caps again as a hyperbolic language, 115,000 and terminal case. It's a tactic designed to command attention and project strength. Mentally, this reflects a fight posture, treating every data point as a battlefield where one must either be the victor or the victim of a rigged system. And then, of course, discrediting expertise. He attacked with 90% of Bloomberg economists serving to undermine the expert class. So this is often a sign of a populist mindset that seeks to position the self as the only reliable source of truth, suggesting that those with traditional credentials are fundamentally biased or incompetent. Donald Trump continues to use this rhetoric to keep us here in the United States and even around the world in our tribes. There is, in an interview last year, there was a question that was asked to him on Fox News about how could he potentially try and heal the country, and I'm paraphrasing. And the words that came out of his mouth, the initial words were, "I don't care about healing the United States." Fundamentally, he wants to keep the people that are loyal to him loyal, and the people that are not loyal to him not loyal. It makes it easier for him to go online and post just utter nonsense. I think someone recognized yesterday that Donald Trump spent almost the entire day yesterday, a man who his administration claims is extremely busy, that he has, economists, that he has almost no time to rest. That is why he doesn't sleep, is because he's just so busy. But yesterday, if you go on his Truth Social, you will see where he repeatedly posted screenshots from his golf tournament or his Doral golf course that just happened to have the Live golf tournament going on that day on Sunday. He posted multiple screenshots, sometimes from weird. It was a weird, almost like a security cam view of the actual tournament. I don't know what hole it was, but he posted this multiple times over several hours. He was posting images of the reflecting pond at between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Memorial, which I'm assuming he must be extremely proud of the fact that they're painting the bottom of the reflecting pond blue, because it didn't look quite enough like what essentially is a resort in the Bahamas. Like that's the effect that it will have. It'll be a resort looking blue pool that people really aren't supposed to get in. I mean, I'm assuming. I thought people threw money into it. But all of the video footage that I've seen, and I could be wrong, but all the video footage I've seen is mostly of there's no change on the bottom of it. I don't know how that works. If there was change in it, does the government get to collect that and then do what it will with it? I'm just curious. So, regardless, the president did have a mother at one point, and he has spoken fondly of her. And I imagine that if she were still with us, that he may have mentioned somewhere in his post that, he loves his mother. Did not mention Melania at all in his post. Did not mention his daughters who have children. Did not mention the mothers of his grandchildren. Did not mention his ex-wives, dead or alive. It's odd behavior, and I'm really hoping that people don't get used to it. Ultimately, I think that's my biggest takeaway. Is I don't want people to get used to this. This isn't normal behavior. This isn't something we shouldn't look at this president and be like, that's the standard bearer. That's where we should always look to as the example of what a president should be. I'm hoping that this is an outlier and that we will eventually someday get back to normal. That's my hope. Because honestly, I don't drive much. I don't really spend a whole lot of money on gasoline every month, but I know plenty of people that do. And it is affecting their wallet. It's beginning to affect how much they actually drive. It's not a great situation to be in, especially right now with the price of homes continuing to climb, price of property value, which in a lot of cases would be good, except for the fact that there are not very many homes up for sale right now. In fact, there are some communities even here in South Carolina where a new property neighborhood is built, and it is completely owned by whatever corporation is building those homes, and then they rent them out. and in some cases, some of these homes are being rented out here in South Carolina for more than $2,000 or $3,000 a month. It is an outrageous cost compared to 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. It's an unbelievable difference in how much it costs now to be able to house yourselves. And it really doesn't look like salaries are increasing. It doesn't look like people are being paid more. What it looks like, especially with the mention of these new 115 to 170,000 jobs that were added during the month of April, it really looks like a lot of people have gotten second jobs, and in some cases, third jobs. And that's the economy that we're in right now, where survival is based on how little sleep you can go with. And it's becoming more and more difficult. I did really quick want to mention that even here in South Carolina, the legislature here is holding itself for another week in order to pass bills that will redraw districts with the intent of removing Democrat seats, such as Clyburn here in South Carolina, by turning those seats into Republican seats by redrawing the districts in a way that marginalizes the minority voters in those communities or in those districts in order to create here in South Carolina what will be a 7-0 Republican to Democrat count when it comes to congressional districts. And the thing I'll warn is the way that they have to do this is by taking historically, statistically, by taking Republican voters and moving them into districts to nullify or to dilute the votes in that one district, in that one Clyburn district. And because I have always been sort of math driven and data driven and statistics driven, there is a possibility that they are going to cut off their nose to spite their face. Because if you dilute the districts enough, if you manipulate the districts, the lines, and you move votes from one district to another, and you dilute those Republican votes, it leaves the opportunity to see districts that would not have been competitive because of the strength of the vote in those districts. It potentially dilutes those districts to the point where they may be competitive. And the only thing that I can really suggest is, if you haven't voted before, make this your first time. If you have voted before and you've felt disenfranchised, or you have felt like your vote doesn't count, then let's start over. Let's make this time the opportunity to vote. And the last thing I'll say before we wrap up is, on our website, there is a link to a page. You can also go to theallaboutnothing.com/voter, where you can check your voter registration. It only takes about 15-30 seconds to do, but just make sure that your voter registration is intact, that it is active, that you know what your precinct is. Make sure that if you have moved in the last, year, 2 years, whatever, just make sure that your address is reflective on your voter registration. Do that now, because we're in primary season, and primaries are always a good way to get yourself re-engaged. If you haven't voted in a while, it's a fantastic way of getting yourself re-engaged. But check your voter registration before you go to the poll. Check your voter registration now, so that if there are issues with it, you can fix them. You can get them fixed through your local election office. If it's an issue with the DMV, you can get that corrected. But get it fixed now, because you don't want to go to the polls and have it be an issue when you're at the polls. For one, it's aggravating. For two, there's a high likelihood that there's some maggot in line looking for any opportunity they can find to report anyone that they see that is standing in line with them. And those reports will be taken seriously, because right now there's so much talk of voter fraud that hasn't really ever existed, but because it's become the boogeyman, it's going to continue to be an issue, and there are people that are always looking to make an example of somebody else. So just be aware of that. Again, you can go to theallaboutnothing.com/voter. You can check links in the show notes. Go to our website, theallaboutnothing.com, to check your voter registration. Please do that, so that, look, the best way we can fight this gerrymandering, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, gerrymandering does not do any good when it comes to representation. I'd be hard-pressed to find even a Republican in my district that would say that our congressman represents them exactly the way they want. that there isn't someone else that could potentially be better. So just keep that in mind. All right, that's going to do it. It's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Kinda Daily Show. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget, you can follow me at Barrett Gruber across all social media. Thanks for liking and hitting that bell. And if you can, give us a 5-star review wherever you are listening. Also, please leave a comment. Until next time, you all stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself. The preceding podcast is solely owned by the host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media, LLC. Copyright 2026.